everyone. Today I'm going to be taking down my Christmas tree, which means that I need to get all of the dried flowers off of it. Now these are all dried flowers, well, almost all of them, like 90% are dried flowers from the 2024 garden. So once I take them all off, I'll go through the varieties with you in case you are looking for some seeds for flowers that are beautiful to dry. Now I change every year as far as when I take down my Christmas tree. It is still dark at like 4 or 4:30. So sometimes I'll leave it up till end of February just to have a little bit of extra light. Sometimes, like this year, I'm ready to take it down pretty soon after the new year. So that's what we're gonna do. Now, it's kind of the life cycle of my dried flowers. During the garden season, I will harvest the flowers I wanna dry. They hang on the curtain rods that are on that wall. I'll show you in just a second, until I put my Christmas tree up. And then I take them off the curtain rods, they go on the tree. After they spend their time on the tree, they all come off, and then I'll use them in crafts like wreaths. I'm gonna make a flower crown this year, or just as dried flower bouquets. Now when I store things or have things inside, I like to make them look as pretty as possible. That's why I added the curtain rods for drying. That's why I put them on the tree. So I was wondering how I was gonna store these dried flowers until I use them. Usually I'll just throw them in a bunch of random pots, but then I saw this photo from the Oak Spring Foundation's Instagram and immediately knew that is what I'm going to do. Is my home gonna look like a flower shop? Maybe. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. So let me go ahead and empty off the tree. Well, actually no, I'm gonna show you the tree again one more time because it's my favorite tree I've ever done. I think this is the 4th year that I've had my dried flower Christmas tree. So this is the Christmas tree for this year. Essentially pretty. I love the color combination of flowers that I had. There are no flowers on the back because I'm not going to waste beautiful flowers when I can't see them. I also absolutely loved what I did with the top. I have allium and garlic chive blooms up there along with some statice. I am definitely replicating that on next year's tree. It's my favorite topper I've ever done. And I like using a white tree because I feel like that makes the colors of the flowers pop. So let me get these all off and I will go through the different varieties with you. All right, well, the tree is now empty, and if anyone is wondering if this gets messy, yes, it does. I'm currently sitting on a pile of dried stems and dried petals. I need to shake out this tree before we put it away, but I'll do that a little bit later. What I want to do now is go through the flowers that were on the tree and go through the different varieties. I'll quickly talk about if I grew them or I bought them from the store, just to show you the different flowers that you can grow in your garden in order to dry them. Now let's start with what I think was probably my favorite dried flower this year, which is statice. So I grew 3 different varieties from, well, first off, all these are from Johnny's Seed. I will link down below every variety I talk about, but this is Johnny's Seed Seeker Blue. It's definitely not a true blue color, but it is more of a bluish purple, especially when I hold it next to the Seeker Purple. So this is Seeker Purple, Seeker Blue. Clearly I harvested a lot more of the Seeker Blue, but I absolutely love that color. I also grew Seeker Rose. It's pink. I love it, and I feel like it's more of a unique pink in my garden because it is more on the cooler side of the pink tones, but this is so beautiful. If you're growing flowers, any that feel papery when they're growing in your garden are probably good ones to dry. And then I only saved 2 of the apricot. So these are from an apricot mix. Some were darker, some were lighter. And I don't know if I just didn't harvest, didn't plant as many, or what. But those were the statice varieties I grew in my garden. I also went to the grocery store and got white statice because I wanted some, and I dried them, but I had nothing to do with the creation of this statice. For me, statice is pretty easy to grow. I started from seed indoors, I think about 6 weeks before last frost. I do love them. The only thing I don't love is that they don't really fill out a garden bed because the stalks are very thin and narrow, and there are periods when it's not blooming, so it kind of felt like there was a hole in some of my beds. So I might do different status in different pots instead of trying to put it within a border or just plant things closer together. But those are all the status that I grew or bought. Now let me show you the Gomphrena. All right, here are my Gomphrena seeds. Some I think are from Johnny's Seed and some are not. So I'll again list down the varieties below and where you can find them. But first off, I had Gomphrena Snow White. This did grow white in the garden. It was a pure white. When it dries, it becomes a little creamier. So I'm putting up the white status next to the white Gomphrena so you can see a little bit of a difference there, but I don't mind it. I still love this color. I have my favorite Gomphrena, which is Carmine, QAS Carmine. It's that same hot pink, hot cool toned pink. Hot cool tone, does that make sense? Makes sense in my head. But I love this so much, and for some reason I did not harvest as much Gomphrena to dry. Now I did leave a good chunk of it for the birds to eat over the winter, but I think I left too much, or maybe I used too many in bouquets, so I'm definitely going to harvest more this year. This one is Lavender Lady. I really like the color of this one. And then last, and yes, this is all the Gomphrena that I saved, this is one bunch of the Truffula Pink. So this one has a very different looking head. It's more of like a little firework rather than a more compact ball. It is a little bit messier because of that. Like I think the petals fall off of this one easier, but they still are on there pretty well. Gomphrena in status and straw flowers, but I don't have any straw flowers this year, dry and look almost identical to how they look in the garden. So that is why I love growing them so much. These I do start from seed. I think I did I do 10 weeks? I had to double check my seed starting schedule. Whatever I did in 2024 was too soon, but they are on the slower side to germinate. So I think I'm gonna do 8 weeks. And if you soak your seeds, your Gomphrena seeds, they will germinate faster. Then I have my Celosia from Floret. This was the vintage rose Celosia. I had 2 different plants of the same variety. They grew slightly different. One was more, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show you here, but one was more compact, like shorter and thicker, and then this one was a little bit thinner and longer, and then these were a little bit more saturated, which is nice to have different types of flowers to choose from. I started these from seed 6 weeks before last frost indoors. The only thing I think I'll do differently is that these kind of took over the raised bed that they were in, so I might plant these in a large pot separately so that they don't take over everything else that's growing in a bed with them. Next, I have a bunch of hydrangea heads, and what I find fascinating is that all of these hydrangea heads came from my compact hydrangeas that I grew on my deck this year. So it was the first year I had them on my deck, so they're definitely not at their mature size yet. I think at maturity, the largest they get is 3 feet by 3 feet, but I'm just impressed with the size of blooms, because like that one, it's almost as large as my head for such a petite plant. I cannot remember which ones came from which because I am growing 11 different types of compact hydrangeas. So I know that I have a nice variety, but that's about all I know. So next year I might try to label these a little bit better to remember which ones came from which, so that I always save my favorites. Next are more plants I did not grow. I got these also from the grocery store. These were just bunches of tiny roses. Now what I did, and what I like to do at least one time throughout the season when the tree's up, is to put a floral tube filled with water onto the fresh flowers. And then if I'm having people over or a party, I will put them in there that day so that they do look fresh throughout that day. But then I don't bother refilling these tubes. I just let them dry on the tree. It does mean they get a little bit angled, depending on which way they're sitting, but I still love them. So I cannot take credit for these either. Next, I have what made up the topper on my tree along with the white status. But these were giant alliums that I grew in the spring of 2024. And as soon as I saved them, I knew they were gonna go on top of my Christmas tree. And then these, I had no idea I was gonna save and dry them, but these are flowers from my garlic chive plant. The dried flowers do not smell like garlic at all, but I thought these were beautiful. I mean, they are obviously little tiny allium, but the giant alliums did hold the purple color of the blooms. These were white, but again, like the Gomphrena, they turn more of a creamy color, and the stems on both of these turn completely brown. Some of the dried flowers kept their green stems, some turned brown like this. Next, I have Rudbeckia. So after all the petals fell off, this is what it looks like in the garden, and end of fall, I think, I went outside and I wanted to cut these down. One, I actually really like the color brown, and I thought adding some darker flowers to the tree would make it a bit more moody, which it did, and I loved it. So these are the rudbeckia that I cut off. This is like 1/5 of everything that is out there. Now I did manage to dry one aster with the flowers still intact. This is the Hazaster Hagen light blue. They're not at all the best flowers to dry with the petals because the petals basically all fall off. I think I must have harvested these early enough off of the plant that the petals stayed intact. So it does look cool. I, again, don't really grow these to dry. I mostly grow them for bouquets. But these, I don't remember which China aster because I grew so many, but these are the insides. Let's see if I can get this to focus. These are the insides. So after the petals fell off ones I was drying and I was kind of sad, I thought I really, really loved how these look. Sometimes I really do like the things that look weird. I don't know if everyone would find that pretty, but I think I can do a lot of cool things with that. And then one other random one that I barely saved any of because I didn't have that many, but I just wanted to call out is this. So this is an anemone after all the petals fell off. And it just has those little balls on it, which I think are cute. I really liked that. I think if I had a whole vase full of these, it would just look really whimsical. So yeah, that is everything that was on my dried tree. So now I'm going to show you the containers that I have on hand to organize all of this. Again, I'll put the image up here for reference that I'm going to try to recreate. Essentially, it was one type of variety of flower per pot. I do have terracotta pots in here. I have some antique containers of different sorts in here as well. I have a cat over there who I'm sure is not going to bother us at all while I try to do this. So let me take you over and I'll show you the containers. And now the cat is on top of the table. Do you need to sniff them all just to see what they are? Yes, thank you so much. So here's what I'm working with in terms of containers. I have all of my terracotta pots under here. I also have some green ceramic pots as well. So what I'm thinking, I'm hoping that if I just put like one pot in here with flowers, it still fits under here so that this whole first row will just be pots filled with dried flowers and then the rest of the pots will be behind for storage, but we'll see what happens once I actually get the flowers in the pots. I also have this from an antique store. I don't know exactly what it's for. I think a water pitcher, but I'm gonna build this with dried flowers. And I think the alliums will go really well in here because I think they are some of the tallest ones that I have. I also have this from an antique store. This is something that goes by a fireplace. I think it held logs, but this right now has the white status in it. I don't think I'm gonna leave the white status in there, or maybe I will. Again, I'm gonna play around with everything and see how I like it. You gonna help? And then I also have a bunch of baskets. I have baskets on top of the shelves over here. I probably have some baskets lying around the house. So let's get started. I'm just gonna start putting things in places and then I will stop when the things are in the places that I like them in. Now, although I'm not sure where all of these are gonna go yet, I am sure that it's gonna get messier before it gets cleaner. All right, I'm gonna try the garlic chive flowers and the alliums in this container, again, because they are the tallest flowers. And this is the tallest container I have. What I've done in past years is just put random bunches together in vases, which was fine, but I feel like it didn't look very organized, especially when I went to find what I was looking for. But this way, if I have, for example, all of the blue status in one pot, I can just grab that pot and put that on the work table. All right, I like how this is looking, but I don't like how tall you are. I do like how this looks. Where it's gonna end up is a whole other question, so we'll just put you to the side for now. Okay, now for the terracotta pots, ideally, I don't know if I have enough, but ideally I would like one status color per container. So let's see if I can make that happen. I'm actually gonna cut these stems a little shorter to make it fit better. Nothing that I'm going to make wreaths, crowns need that long of stems, so this should be okay. Also, I want to see if you fit underneath the table, because if not, I'm not sure where I'm going to put you. Fingers crossed. I think you do. Okay, perfect. So I do have to shorten the stems a little bit, but that shouldn't be a problem. We'll do the Status Seeker Rose. Oh, I love this color so much. Seeker Blue next. Apricot next. Celosia, let's see if you fit. Fingers crossed again. Maybe I come in from the side. I feel like hydrangeas need to be in a basket type, and I think this container will work really well for that. Let's see if I have enough to fill it. If not, I will add something on the bottom just to lift everything up a little bit. In fact, I might do that anyway. I'm going to take some of my smaller terracotta pots. I'm going to turn them upside down, placing them on the bottom. This way it's just taking up a little bit more room, and then that way it looks fuller once I put all of the flowers in. I think that looks cute. Where am I going to put it again? Still not sure, so we'll go over to the side. I think I'm done. So I had to vacuum and clean up so that I could figure out where things were going because the mess was just a bit overwhelming. But I love how this has turned out. I'll take you up closer to look at all of the flowers, but this is so pretty and they're really not that in the way. In fact, these on the floor, I can even scooch under the table, which I might do at some point, but now if I want to make something, I can just go ahead and grab the whole container of flowers that I want to use for it, and it's all laid out right here. Not only that, but I think this looks really pretty. So let me take you up close and I will show you how I laid everything out. First up here, we have the cat statue. That does go in my garden, but for now, it's going to be some home decor. All of the hydrangeas are in this antique container. I put all of the gomphrena except for the white, so all the pink gomphrena in one 8-inch pot. Are these 8-inch pots? These are 8-inch terracotta pots. Up here I have the celosia, I have the apricot color status, the blue status, rose status, purple status, white status. Down here I have white gomphrena, all of the roses from the grocery store. And then in this container I put the giant alliums, the garlic chive flowers, and then the rudbeckia heads. And I think this turned out beautifully. Oh, one other container. This pot has all of the random flowers that I put in there. So the aster heads where the petals fell off, asters with the petals on, some other random dried flowers that I got, I think when I ordered a dried flower book. So those are all in here on the side, and this is the way I enter the room, so I thought it would be pretty to put here. Plus, it's tall enough in this area to fit under the table. So that's gonna be everything for this video. It's great to have all these organized, but also, like I said, I love to display things in a way that's also pretty. What we have to watch out for is to see if the cats bother these pots. So my cats, I have no idea why, do not bother houseplants. I'm wondering if it's because there's always been houseplants since they were little and they're used to them. They don't bother fresh bouquets. We'll see if they do anything other than sniff these. What they do bother are my seedlings, I think because the fan is blowing them. So anytime I start seeds, I do have to put a baby gate up to block them from this room. But we'll see if these are allowed to stay here. These hopefully are enough out of the way, although you never know with cats. But I think this is just beautiful. I am going back and forth on, because I feel like that's gonna block too many of the flowers, even though I like the green color in there. So I might adjust some things, but these pots I will use in the garden, so they will have to be emptied, which shouldn't be a problem. Wreaths use up a lot of flowers, and I don't have a ton, especially because my garden's a little bit smaller. So that's gonna be everything for this video. I hope this inspired some sort of organization that looks pretty. If anyone does something similar, definitely let me know. Again, it was Oak Spring Foundation's Instagram that inspired this, so welcome, I guess, to my flower shop now. But I will see you in the next video. Bye.